This is J.C. Frazier wishing each of you a safe and pleasant day. Now, thought from our Sunday school lesson for Sunday, April 7th, 2024. The title of this week's lesson is The Faith of Four Friends. The scriptural text for this lesson is taken from Luke chapter 5, verses 17 through 26. Reading from the New Living Translation of the Bible, verses 17 through 20 read as follows. One day, while Jesus was teaching, some Pharisees and teachers of religious law were sitting nearby. It seemed that these men showed up from every village in all Galilee and Judea, as well as from Jerusalem. And the Lord's healing power was strongly with Jesus. Some men came carrying a paralyzed man on a sleeping mat. They tried to take him inside to Jesus, but they couldn't reach him because of the crowd. So they went up to the roof and took off some tiles. Then they lowered the sick man on his mat down into the crowd right in front of Jesus. Seeing their faith, Jesus said to the man, "Young man, your sins are forgiven." Sometimes people need a support system when trying to overcome life's obstacles. How can friendships lend strength and support to others who are in a crisis? Jesus celebrated the faith and tenacity of the four friends who helped another friend find healing and wholeness. Remember what we were taught from the book of James, where he says, now someone may argue, some people have faith, others have good deeds. But I say, how can you show me your faith if you don't have good deeds? I will show you my faith by my good deeds. Whenever our love for people move us to be of help to them, let us make sure that they see our good works and glorify our Father in heaven. Hear these words. When he came to the village of Nazareth, his boyhood home, he went as usual to the synagogue on the Sabbath and stood up to read the scriptures. The scroll of Isaiah the prophet was handed to him. He unrolled the scroll and found the place where this was written. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim that captives will be released, and the blind will see, that the oppressed will be set free, and that the time of the Lord's favor has come. Then he began to speak to them, the scriptures you have just heard has been fulfilled this very day. Who said that, and what was he talking about? Ask your teacher, and we'll see you in Sunday school.
WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee. The views and opinions expressed on this show do not reflect that of the staff and management of WNOV and W293CX 106.5 FM Courier Communications Milwaukee, but are the sole comments of the host and guest of this particular show.
can't hear you, Carly. Da-da-da-da-da. You got your ID with you today?
Yes, sir.
We're going to do something this afternoon, so we're going to work that out. Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Got all my THs in today. Excellent. Those 3 years of speech pathology has helped. As I go back, sounded like Fantasia. You got that little lisp.
I got one too.
You have a lisp?
Yes, I do.
Really?
It just like starts to slowly develop over the years.
Isn't it amazing that those of us with certain speech patterns are people then who are more likely to get in front of the microphone?
I know. And then I also bite my tongue when I'm like concentrating. And there's so many judges who be like, Attorney Johnson Bent, are you biting your tongue? And they do it too. So it's a lot. I guess it's a common thing. It's weird.
So we have in studio with us Attorney Rochelle Johnson Bent. She's a candidate for judge. What branch is that?
Branch 43, Milwaukee County Circuit Court, Branch 43.
You were on Michelle's program yesterday.
Yes, I was.
So you gave us a whole lot of particulars in terms of who you are.
Yes.
So can I ask you some judge questions?
Sure.
So I'll give you a couple of terms and see. When I say judicial temperament, what does that look like for you?
That's a big one. And I think that a lot of people should ask that question more often. What that looks like is how judges gauge their own personal emotions to the reactions that they're getting in the courtroom, or how they react to things that's happening in the courtroom. A lot of times people, as I said before yesterday, and I say it a lot, people come in a courthouse frustrated, scared, irritated that they even have to be there for numerous reasons, right? And so a judge's temperament to de-escalate a situation or escalate a situation is a huge factor in how people react to the court system. So that is, for me, I have worked with clientele who have been victims of domestic violence on the other side of that as well. I've worked with criminal defense attorneys. Criminal defense clients. I worked with children, parents who are going through very ugly divorces. And so you have to be able to know how to not agitate a situation by being almost the instigator in sometimes what could be a simple situation. And I use that in terms of judges sometimes will ask questions because they don't approve of someone's lifestyle. They don't like how they came to court dressed, or they don't like how they're talking. They don't like the way they're articulating their words. And so sometimes they will ask certain questions or make certain statements to agitate certain situations. Also, when they see certain situations happening in the courtroom or before court even starts, they can utilize that knowledge and that observation to de-escalate the situation. A knowledge, maybe I could tell you're very emotional today. I'm going to give you a few more seconds to kind of get your thoughts together to answer this question. Just those small different temperaments that courts can use and judges can use. And that's temperament with the bailiffs, temperament with the clerks, temperament with the judges and attorneys as well. We're all part of that story for people. When they come into court and they tell you how court went, they're usually judging the temperament more than they are the decisions.
You're an advocate.
Yes.
Now you become the arbitrator. How do you make that transition from a person who's advocating for clients, their best interest? Now you're in a position where you have to make a judgment based on the facts before you.
And I feel like a guardian ad litem is a person who represents the legal best interest.
You guys are not very popular.
I was. People loved me. I know. Not everyone, but most people. Right. But a lot of people did feel I was fair.
And tell folks what a guardian ad litem is.
A guardian ad litem is a attorney who represents the legal best interest of usually minor children, but it could also be a person who's elderly and needs maybe help with their mental capacities. But usually the way that I was in the role that I was a guardian ad litem for minor children. And so what that means is you don't represent the mother, you don't represent the father, the grandparent, whoever, and you don't actually advocate for the child's wishes. you advocate for their best interest. And a lot of people don't understand that's what a guardian ad litem is. And they'll say, well, my child told you they want such and such, right? But I have to go in and still advocate based off of the evidence that I gathered, the information that I have, the law that is before us, and then say that this is what I believe the court should do as it relates to the best interest of that minor child or children. So I use that to bring up that arbitration mindset, right? So I've gone through a number of mediation trainings. I've done a number of settlement cases. Most of my cases that I have handled have actually settled out of court. And I'm not saying that because I know a lot of people think, well, that's because you're scared to go to trial or the person's scared to go to trial. But no, it's because, again, you're addressing the actual issues that people are dealing with. And I remind people, it's always typically better if you guys can work it out with you two and figure out what actually can work for you instead of having to go into a court and let a judge who gets 30, 45 minutes to hear you make your argument, the other side make their argument, has attorneys bringing up things get left out, right? Because everyone can't bring up everything. And then they're making a decision as it relates to your life. So if you can make decisions or do things outside of court, you should. So I utilize those mediation trainings, the arbitration trainings I've done to be able to make good settlement outside of court. And I've been planning to use those same skills as a judge. Again, addressing what actual issues people are facing when they're in the court. I think that would help.
We hear this term that justice is blind. But because justice is in fact blind, then justice then needs to be mitigated, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about terms like restorative justice, what does that mean to you?
Well, restorative justice can look different for every single person. You can't really quantify something for everyone as the same form of justice. Someone going behind, getting taken to custody and going into jail or in prison or whatever, maybe the justice that victim feels is providing them justice. But a lot of times that's not it by itself, right? It's them actually wanting to see this person either show remorse or this person get treatment so they don't go out and do it again. And to have some connection to the aftermath of it all. And so to me, restorative justice is not only just with defendants, not just with the person who's being sentenced or charged, but it's also with the family and the victims of the crime as well. So it's this village, I guess, or this collaborative effort between these two entities.
Well, how do you balance then the, and I'll put in quotations, community cry for justice?
Yeah.
And then making sure that people receive their due process. Understanding that I was at a criminal justice conference they had a few years ago at MATC. They had a panel of folks, and they had one guy who was he had been a convicted felon. It looks like he'd been pardoned.
Yep.
But he said the judge who had sentenced him said, I didn't realize that 5-year sentence for you turned into a life sentence.
Yeah.
So how do you mitigate that where we want justice? We want people to be accountable for their behavior.
Yeah.
But then we just don't want to throw everybody out. Because sometimes these are like one and done kind of situations.
Yeah. So one thing I talk to a lot of people about is we try the whole let's be tough on crime. We know that doesn't really protect our society, just throwing everybody in jail, giving them harsh sentences and, acting like there are other mitigating factors to why people commit crimes. What I think in regards to that is you have to look at each case as an individual case. Yes, you should keep statistics of what you are doing so you can kind of make sure that you are being fair, and it kind of outlines and brings out attention if maybe you are having some implicit bias that you're not realizing you have, right? But a judge does have to comply with the law. They do have to look at the facts that's before them. They should look at the history with that person. Look at the resources that have been provided to that person. Yes, you may have and I'm talking more in the light of criminal cases, but you may have someone who has committed maybe some misdemeanors, right? A couple of misdemeanors beforehand. Now they're here before you for a serious felony. That doesn't mean that this person has to get a harsh sentence because they're a repeat offender. Maybe the issue is they have drug issues. Maybe they have mental health problems. Maybe they're dealing with homelessness. What resources have we also in the community? Because I always say, people always talk about what the courts can be doing to, get these people off the streets. We need the community to help us. Like, we can't send everybody. We can't say go home and be better, and then they don't have a home to go to. So you got to figure out what we, community and courts, can do and what resources we can provide and what have we done. And then did that person utilize those things? Are they trying to make themselves better? And then those are the things that courts should be taking into factors. There's sentencing guidelines, of course, but there's other discretional things that courts can consider when they're trying to figure out, is jail, because you are removing someone from the community, is jail the best fit? Is community service the best fit? Is probation the best fit? Is a deferred prosecution the best fit? You have to figure out what works for this particular case. And every judge is not going to get it 100% right every time.
In terms of, and I throw this out because you're talking about, we hadn't talked about, there's systemic things that leads to certain behavior, certain criminal behavior, which is outside of your control and basically
absolutely
my control. So when you hear that, so when you think about, and I don't know if you did this in law school, did you all do critical race theory?
No, I don't remember. No,
that's interesting.
I don't think so.
That's really because, the way it had been presented, it was just like, oh man, they're indoctrinating these lawyers, and most people don't realize that. But critical race theory, the theory is that there is racial biases that's baked in to our system.
Yeah, I've done plenty of training since then, but I don't remember it necessarily doing it. Yeah, I don't remember it being a factor in my law school classes. We had a lot of progressive teachers who have like entwined it into their lessons, but it wasn't, I don't remember actually being part of the program in itself, but I could be wrong. I mean,
but you do understand what it's proffering in terms of how we have to be mindful that there are these systemic things that impact certain people, in particular people of color.
Absolutely.
So, okay, I'm going to move on because you didn't have it in college. Okay. I'm going to do this thing. We'll take a couple of phone calls.
Okay.
Let me do, this is our little rapid fire thing. So,
all right.
I'm going to give you a word. You give me a quick definition.
Okay.
Justice.
Fairness to all.
Fairness.
Equal opportunity.
Two alumni from North Carolina A&T that's here in Milwaukee. You at North Carolina A&T?
I went to North Carolina Aggie Pride.
Uh-oh. give me another one.
Aggie Pride. Woo woo. Okay. Sorry.
That's it? Just what?
What? You
Yeah,
said say it again. Oh, some
alumni in Milwaukee.
Yes.
That are fellow.
Oh, if there are alumni in Milwaukee. First off, I'm hoping that we can connect because I don't feel like HBCU, North Carolina A&T, sorry, we alumni connect as much because the closest alumni chapter is in Chicago. So anyway, I hope that we could connect.
Okay. I think Jackie Rice is June Perry. A&T.
Oh, really?
I think June might be A&T. I'll have to go and look at her bio. Okay. Jesse Jackson, definitely
yes,
A&T.
Very much so, yes.
Okay.
Ronald McNair. Yeah.
Okay. The best HBCU homecoming.
Of course, A&T. Oh! We're called GHO. That's greatest homecoming on earth because we have the best homecoming on earth because we are the largest HBCU in the nation. If you go to an A&T homecoming, oh my God, there's so much fun. The parties, the gatherings, the walking around the plots, walking around the yard, going to your college university building and reconnecting with the professors that are still there or the student and alumni come back. It's all family.
You visit your dorm
it's just
room?
A big old family.
Do you walk past your
I
dorm
sure
room?
do. Barbie Suites, freshman year.
I walked by old Sheridan Hall and touched the door. I was in that room.
Yes. And then we do this thing, which I love, is a lot of times those alumni will go back to find someone who's in that dorm room.
Okay.
And then we'll give them money or we'll give them like a gift basket and say, hey, I graduated and I was in this room, 2002 to 2003. And then I go to the next, we may go to the different dorm room and do that. And yeah, that's something that a lot of our alumni do.
All right, young people, there's another good reason why you might want to go to North Carolina A&T. The alum come back and give you money.
Yes.
All right, let's take the calls real quick and call them up to the program.
Yes, I was holding on, waiting to call. Could you give the numbers, or do they still do the pickup rides? I'm a disabled vet, and I was wondering if they have any numbers for you to call to go get a ride to the Foley.
All right, let me check for that, and if there are, we will announce them.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning to you. You have the young lady that's running for judgeship. I want to ask the question. Do you really believe that the judge have the power that you just described to the voters that you'll be able to carry out? Because I found that most of the power is in the district attorney's office, and except the judge, there's a bench trial. The judge has very little, but they do have a lot, but they refuse to exercise it because they rely on the district attorneys and the evidence of their investigators to present the case to them, and they usually rule in the direction of that. So will you really have some power, or will you just be like most of them, just sit on their duff and let the city attorney? And some of this stuff is there's judges that see the wrongness or the righteousness where the DA might be leaning where too soft or too hard, whatever. The judge can see this because some of it is just common sense, but they rely on the DA. How willing are you to go outside? And I know what you're going to say, but I just want to hear it. How willing are you?
Well, let's see. Appreciate it. Thank you. I think the word he's talking about is discretion, judicial discretion.
So
appreciate you, man.
Thank you for the call and the question. Obviously, we do have laws that we have to follow, right? And then there's only evidence that's presented to the court that the court can go with. They can ask for more information. I think a lot of times, a lot of judges should be asking more questions about what information or what can be presented to them. However, judges do have to be careful not to start becoming an advocate for one particular person. As it relates to your question in its totality, yes, I do think that I can utilize my power and my discretion to extend equity, justice, to more of our, and when I say community, I mean everybody. I'm not just talking about Black people. I'm not talking about brown and Black. I'm talking about everyone. Anyone who comes in our courtroom should feel like a judge is giving them a fair chance. Now, our community as a whole doesn't give people a fair chance. I can't fix society as it relates to what everyone is dealing with resources, right? Everyone can't afford maybe the attorney they want. And I can't necessarily remove an attorney because I think that they're not doing as good as a job as the prosecutor. I can point out and ask questions. I can maybe make notations to the defense attorney and or the state attorney as to things that they could present and how they should present it in the court in a fair manner and make sure they're doing it properly and ethically. But I can't necessarily get off the bench and then become an advocate for any particular one party just because I feel that things are not going their way.
Attorney Rochelle Johnson Bent?
Yes.
Branch 43.
Branch 43, Rochelle Johnson Bent.
Appreciate
Branch
you.
43. Please go out and vote, everyone. I know this rain is sucky. I know it's cold. Sucky. That's my very judicial articulation of words.
What a great,
I know.
That's meteorologically.
Right. I know the weather sucks, but I'm please asking everyone to please go out and vote if you haven't already. Find and ask for transportation if you don't have it. I know there are a lot of resources that are providing transportation today. I would offer it, but I have so many other occasions I have to do, and I don't want to have anyone miss voting because of that reason.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Rochelle Johnson Bent, again, she's candidate for judge in the 43rd branch.
Yes, first name you'll see on that ballot.
Rochelle.
Thank you.
You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Saturday, April 6th and Sunday, April 7th, the Life Center brings to you something for the modern day believers, the stage play Resurrection. Get ready for an electrifying play that will leave you on the edge of your seats. Tickets are just $10 for children, $20 for adults, and $40 for families of four. To purchase tickets and for more information, please call 414-306-2107. That's 414-306-2107. Or visit Mario Dickens Creations at 7625 West Lisbon Avenue.
Milwaukee. This is Michelle Bryant, your host of Say Something Real. When President Joe Biden wanted to talk to Milwaukee voters, he called WNOV. And welcome President Biden to Milwaukee and to WNOV. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I had a great event downtown, and I'm at the headquarters now, and we're feeling really good. It's a great day. We have a lot of we have 1,000 volunteers going out here in Wisconsin, out of Milwaukee in particular.
So we are ready to roll in Wisconsin.
Well, I tell you what, God love you. We win Wisconsin, we win it all.
For up-to-date election information, keep it locked on WNOV 860 AM, 106.5 FM.
The Center for Teaching Entrepreneurship presents its third annual Big Head Soiree, Thursday, May 16th at the Marcus Performing Arts Center in the Bradley Pavilion. I'm Andrea Williams, and I'll be your host for this spectacular event. It's designed to salute the co-founder, Miss Radonna Rogers, as she loved to wear big hats, and this is one way we honor her. We will also celebrate and recognize the accomplishments of Milwaukee's leaders in entrepreneurial ventures.
TTE was founded with the mission in mind to help young people understand business, financial literacy, and themselves, and how they can find their way into the marketplace and be productive citizens. We have found a great way to educate, stimulate, and advance what we're doing within this community.
So ladies, this is the time to wear your big hat, and guys, your stylish fedora. You will be treated to a delectable dinner and the sounds of Soul Sirius starting at 5:30. The program will begin at 7 with more entertainment and the awards program. Tickets are just $75. Go to Eventbrite using VHS 24 or call 414-788-8104. That's 414-788-8104. This event will kick off the spring season, so don't miss it.
This event is sponsored by Wisconsin Black Chamber of Commerce, U.S. Bank, Brewers Community Foundation, and BizStart.
Great impressions will exceed your expectations. Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
Are you ready to make a lasting impression? Look no further than Great Impressions Graphics and Printing. With over 25 years of excellence in the industry, we specialize in delivering top-notch printing solutions tailored to your corporate needs. Business cards, brochures, banners, annual reports, apparel, and promotional items. Our state-of-the-art technology ensures unmatched quality and precision. Call 414-536-7646 or visit greatimpress.com today to learn more. Trust Great Impressions to exceed your expectations and elevate your brand to new heights.
Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
You're listening to WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.
All right, welcome back to Community Voice, and we're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Julia Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Both days.
Y'all look so sad today. Is it the weather? Or...
Well, my leg hurts.
Your leg hurts? You got an owie?
No, it's this knee and this weather is an owie.
Is that right?
It's the right one that I injured that has the...
You have arthritis?
No, I oh my gosh. Anyway, I had an MRI. I've got several things going on in the right knee, and today it's telling me about it. So
you know, this is going to sound funny, but I thought about this, and I said I really appreciate, and I'm not going to use the word because I hate it, your openness. I'm not going to use transparency. I've heard this word. I hate
transparency.
this. I'm quickly hating that word. People apply it and don't even apply it properly. So, but I just kind of feel like, when we sit here and we talk about things that we're kind of naked. We're sharing all this intimate information about our health, So let me thank you for the exposure. I don't know if we're gonna catch a ticket, but I left it one day going, wow, we really get into some stuff where people looking at you now going, oh, how's that? How do you know? How's your ovaries? Well, there.
Right. You know what I heard?
I heard you.
Mm-hmm. Brenda, she got them bad ovaries.
Got the bad ovaries. Get that ovary fix. But no, I think that's probably why this segment resonates so much with people, because I'm going, I know some things about them that I don't know if I should know. I wouldn't know it in normal situations.
Well, the important thing, does it make you look at us differently?
Ooh, profound question at 9:31. Oh yeah, I judge y'all.
Okay.
There's no sympathy, No, I don't. I don't so much. I look at you differently. I just think that sometimes, the whole aging process is one of the things is your narratives change.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling them in church, the only people really, really talking about heaven and hell are old people. Why is that? Because we're getting close to death, right? Young people, heaven and hell. Are you kidding me? That's
what that ain't. They ain't even thinking about.
They ain't thinking about. I know I didn't. So it was like, but no. So I appreciate that level of honesty and the fact that you're willing to share information. But I think it makes it a little bit more practical when you can talk about, oh yeah, but I experienced this. April, everybody got a month. April is National Minority Health Month.
Yeah, started by Booker T. Washington.
Booker T.
Booker T. Way back in 1915.
What did he call it back then?
National
Negro. National Negro.
Negro Health Week.
Negro.
And Health Week. We do that.
So it was started by the great Booker T. Washington in 1915 because Negroes were having health issues.
And nobody cared.
Until Booker T.
That's right. He said, let me make sure
we
people
die
know.
We sick, nobody cares.
That's right.
Thank you, Booker T. Washington.
He's like, I'm going to make sure people know black folks have issues and they ain't being taken care of. So I'm going to make me a month, not a day, but a month.
It was only 1 week.
Oh,
of course.
It was only 1 week.
For Black History Month, Negro History was Negro History Week.
Mm-hmm. And we went to a month. So.
And it was interesting because with Negro History Month, when it got to Black History Month, it was the militant. They're going like a week. No, dog. We do a whole month.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, okay, but Black History is 365, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there were health disparities in 1915 because this would have been necessary.
No, can you imagine how rapidly our people were suffering and dying in that generation? Because at that time, Black people couldn't even go to the same doctors or hospitals that white people went to. And if you did go to a doctor that took Black people, they made you go in the back, and so you're not getting the best of care.
That might be an indication.
That's an indication.
Well,
and even some of those hospitals that did allow Blacks, it was a separate wing.
Right.
It wasn't. It was a whole separate wing. It's just mind blowing when you think back about that.
That's a great point because we're not used to that overt, apartheid. Basically, where and what I mean by it's apartheid, it's on the door. They were the colored wings. Now, we should not, though, even though that's the case, especially if we're dealing with Black physicians, based on what they had, I think they did remarkable work.
They did, because they were not allowed to train in certain hospitals, and even the nurses were not recognized as professional nurses. Mary Mahoney was the first African American nurse that was recognized as being an RN. You know, they always wanted to make us the least. They never allowed us to reach our full capacity, you know, and when we did, we were not respected for it. But you know, back in the days, African Americans took care of African Americans.
We had to.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and to even be, you had to go to a separate school. You didn't go to school with the white people. You know, if you wanted to be a nurse or doctor, you had to have your own school to go to.
Right.
And I think, you know, and I've always, this has been my take on the whole idea of integration. Integration wasn't so much that Black people wanted to be with white people. Integration was really about being able to get the resources one needed to have quality life. And I think that gets confused. I bought the book and I finally watched the documentary Branded from the Start. And if you look at people as less than human, then you don't feel obligated to provide them with full human care. And we're still dealing with some of the residual effects of that inferiority view of descendants of African people, of indigenous people, where they're less than. So the one thing we talk about is pain tolerance, which is a legacy of enslavement.
Well, sure. And that, I mean, they taught that in medical schools, you know, that for as far as pain management goes, Black people had less receptors for pain. And so they did not need to be treated. And that was in the medical journals up until not that long ago, you know, that, and there are many doctors that still believe that.
Culturally, it's still happening.
Yes, they still believe
but
that.
Now it's turned into not so much the pain tolerance, is that you're going to get the drugs and then sell them. When the evidence is that is done by European Americans far more than it is by descendants of enslaved Africans. You look at places like West Virginia, Kentucky, again, parts of Florida. And so it's when we begin to look at those disparities, a lot of times culturally we have to overcome, and historically we have to overcome things just so we can get proper care.
You know, there was a study maybe 3 or 4 years ago in pediatric hospitals, and it showed that children were not even being medicated. African-American children were medicated less. Their pain was not treated as seriously as it was for white. And these are children, you know, little bitty babies. And it's just, that's horrible that they can even look at children and have that belief system that, yeah, that little Black baby doesn't need as much pain medication. So they were being under-medicated.
And that's what I got, that in terms of the legacy of dehumanization of people. And it seems really heavy, but it's true. And then when we look at the level of information that's provided to minority communities in terms of health, you know, the great example that I can remember was how we deal with hypertension, and particularly hypertension in Black males, and how usually the medication is not proper to deal with the hypertension. And some people say that it's probably a cultural bias.
That's true. You know, at one point it was like, I had one doctor tell me, you African Americans are so difficult to treat.
Did you say you people?
No, he said African Americans.
Sound like you people to me.
So difficult to treat.
You people is what he was thinking.
Because I told him that I took his patient's blood pressure in the community and it was sky high. And the man was discouraged. And I wonder why. You know, I said, I know we have too much blood pressure medication that we can't get your blood pressure down. And so I said, you need to go back to your doctor. And he's like, well, he's going to say it's my fault. You know, that's why I get so irritated when people blame people. So I said, don't worry about it. I know your doctor. I'll go talk to him. And so I went and talked to his doctor, and he was embarrassed, and and he came at me that way, you African Americans. But then once he realized, I said, this is his blood pressure, and he's not feeling well. And then he's like, well, okay, I'll change his meds up.
Well, and this is the thing. Even if they're living a certain lifestyle, they're eating too much salt, they're eating too much fat, too much of the wrong things. They still need to be under control. I mean, you can decrease the medication if they change their lifestyle and they're improving. But so what if they're not eating right? What, you're going to punish them? You know, you still need to manage it at that point where they're at.
You know, and and I know that if hypertension is not coming down with all the meds that you're throwing at it, then you need to look at something else. There could be something else causing that
Sure.
blood pressure to be that high.
Could be adrenal issues.
Yes.
It could be sleep apnea. It can be a variety of things, but yeah, they need to be addressed
need to
further.
look
And
at that.
rarely do you hear that, though.
Yeah, you need to look at that whole person and get a good history. It's not just that African American have high blood pressure. White people have high blood pressure too, but they look at the whole everything about them before, and just instead of just saying you African Americans are difficult. You know,
And what was very interesting, and how I think Michelle really, she said, you know, COVID was both a curse and a blessing. And what we did notice, though, that poor whites were dying at the same rate as blacks and others, because what we found out is the health among poor whites is as poor as it is among minority groups, right? You know, they said Mississippi is the unhealthiest state in the country. And so we didn't discover that maybe there's the race issue, but I think a lot of us are coming to it's about class. I read Isabel Wilkerson's book Caste, and I haven't seen the book, what is it now? Origin. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but it talks about her book, and she's making the argument that though race is false construct, right? Racism is real, but when you really dig deeper, what you will find is it's a caste system that we have, and that poor people are underserved.
Exactly.
Regardless of what they look like, they are underserved. And so, though we particularly talk about minority health, we realize that America, the richest nation in the country, the most sophisticated, the most advanced medical system in the country, in the world, and still has some of the most unhealthy people in the world. How do we have that contradiction?
And some people will argue, well, if you're the lowest on the socioeconomic ladder, then you don't have money for these things. But that's not even the case. It's the judgment that comes with when you walk in the door, or, you know, or even you're on Title 19. The assumption is that, you know, you don't want to work, you know, and so it's not about the money itself, that they don't have the money to do it, because even if they have insurance, we're still seeing the same resistance, same, you know, they say they have access to care. They do, but
not the same.
It's not the same.
Public health insurance, with the exception of Medicare, public health insurance usually is not adequate. Reimbursement rates are not the same. That then becomes a problem for hospitals like St. Joseph's, right, that are in underserved communities, and hospitals like St. Joseph's who then find themselves in an area where trauma, you know, trauma-related illnesses or injury is higher, and so then the cost of care then in that area is higher, but you're not being reimbursed at the same level because it's public health insurance.
So if a hospital like that could even break even, that would be a really good thing. But most hospitals like that don't even break even. You know, they're losing money every year because they're in the business of caring for people, regardless of their ability to pay.
Well, you say something that's very interesting, because it has become business, right? It's like, what is it, 1/8 of our economy. It is big business, and people are applying business principles when we're talking about health, and that's across the board, you know, in terms of, you know, and then they're nonprofits, but at the same time, they have to make money.
Right. You still have to be able to buy equipment, pay nurses, pay doctors.
And you're competing.
Oh yeah,
with
absolutely.
other health systems, other hospitals, and then sometimes the least among us can kind of get caught up in the wash.
For sure. And that's we talk about how a lot of the doctors' offices and hospitals are outside of our neighborhoods, and in order to get there, you have to take so many buses. Or if they go there, and transportation is just ridiculous.
Oh, it's the time I had to go to the old emergency room.
Which one?
At County?
On Wisconsin Avenue.
Oh. Okay.
And my mom had to come. My mom caught the bus from the county hospital. That's where she worked. And then we had to catch the bus home.
Yeah.
That was a long bus ride.
I bet it was.
Longer than usual, in terms of
Not
that. But
well, having a
being in trouble.
Sitting next to her.
Yeah, being
I
in
was
trouble
fine
because
until
he got
she
hurt.
showed up. I told the story. My mom walked fast. She hit that corner. She turned around. They had me sitting outside waiting because they have to do stitches, so they need her permission. And so here we come. And I was in a pretty good mood until I saw Cliffy turn the corner. Because I know under any circumstances should your butt be up in the hospital. It was this, and I know it's part of his concern, but it's anger, and she had to leave work early, to come deal with him, something that he didn't have to do in the first place. So yeah, that was a long bus ride.
I bet it was.
Oh my God. And she couldn't do what she wanted to do, like cuss me out on the bus. Too many witnesses. We have a call. Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My question that I have is for the court services. Do they deal with civil suits?
It would depend if, thank you, if you're talking about Attorney Johnson Bent, it would really depend on what court she's assigned to, because even though they'll give you a branch, she could be moved to children's court. She could be moved into criminal court, civil court, fourth floor. Everybody know courthouse, fourth floor. So it really depends on where the chief judge will assign, or the type of cases the chief judge will assign to that particular branch.
Is there a number I can get in touch with her?
Her number?
Yes.
Did she put a number on here? No, but you can go to her website. I don't see a phone number, but you can go to her website. Is Rochelle 4, the number 4, judgemke.com.
How do you spell Rochelle?
ROCHELLE 4 JUDGEMKE.com.
JUDGE.
MKE. That's all one word. MKE.com.
All right. Thank you. And have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you. Thank you. So we were talking about this in terms of the disparities. We talk about our morbidity, and morbidity is our different illnesses. And like I said, if it wasn't, COVID really put a glaring spotlight on health disparities and negatively impacted groups of people. So what do we do in terms of how do we raise the awareness, or who needs to be made aware of this?
Well, I think like our show here, to get the knowledge out to our people so that they know what they are asking for and demanding from their primary care physician.
We're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Julia Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan, Essential Wisconsin. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
Vanessa, co-chair of the Juneteenth vendors.
I am Frank, co-chair of the Juneteenth volunteers.
Juneteenth is fastly approaching and space is always limited. So if you have an interest in being a vendor, you need to sign up today.
Juneteenth would not be successful unless we have volunteers. We need volunteers for a multitude of different areas. So companies, corporations, organizations, Divine Nine, even families, please sign up to be volunteers today.
So call Northcott Neighborhood House today at 414-372-3770.
Vendors and volunteers call today at 414-37.
Welcome back, and we're in C sharp. Just in case.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. C sharp.
C sharp. Thank you. Just so, and I'll be talking in C sharp for the rest of the program. We're inside Be Healthy, Be You. Miss Julia Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan, and we're talking about Minority Health Month. We did see one of the questions was this word health disparities.
Mm-hmm.
What is that when we hear that term?
Well, that means that you get a different type of health care, depending on the color of your skin, of your insurance,
gender, socioeconomic status.
That's what it is. Huh?
Yeah, that's what it is, and that should not be.
How do we not lose our minds? This is kind of
African American.
Yeah,
we have grown up conditioned to it, and so people like Julie and I, who really know better, we almost lose our minds sometimes, especially when we're trying to help a particular person get the services that they should be able to get. It can get really frustrating. But what we see with a lot of the people who try to do it on their own, they just give up. Mm-hmm. They get angry, they give up, they don't trust healthcare at that point, they're just done. Mm-hmm. And so then they don't get any healthcare. Mm-hmm. We were helping a young lady make a doctor's appointment last week, and just the stress of making that doctor appointment, and we were doing it, yet, we're on hold a long time, we're waiting, and she was stressed. watching us trying to make an appointment for her. She would not have been able to do that for herself. And the minute they ask you one question that you can't answer, or pull out your insurance card, what's the number on that card? You can present that when you go there. But for a lot of people, those are all barriers that make it really difficult for
that
people.
pre-check-in.
Yes.
Yeah, I do my mom's medical appointments, and we have to do the pre-check-in. And I mean, it's not hard. It just seems to be a little arduous, because either way you're going to do it. I can do it electronically and have everything, or sit there, as you said, now I'm filling out that paperwork before I go. I think also access to health insurance contributes to disparities. And then even when people do, the political piece on this, and you all don't comment on this, the political piece on this is that there was a particular party that was offering the so-called skinny plans that would get us away from what the Affordable Care Act required. And there's 10 things that each health plan has to have, essential to part of the health plan. And so for people who want to give you a cheaper premium, in effect, they might ask you to forego certain services. One of the things that's covered under the Affordable Care Act is the ambulance service. Most people don't think about that, right? Because ambulance service is expensive.
Very.
I mean, I saw what that ride, that 3-mile ride from the courthouse to St. Luke's cost. I could have took a cab.
You could have bought the cab. Here, let me just give you some money for
Give
this.
me Uber. Give me Uber over here, and I'll crawl to the car.
But if you needed oxygen, they wouldn't have had it in the cab.
I'll pay them an extra $5. Get me there. I need oxygen.
But Keith, even for the people who, like to say, they go with those skinny plans or the high deductibles because that's what they can afford, they've got a long way before anything's being paid out. Right. So every time they go to the doctor, when they go to fill their prescriptions, which we used to run into a lot, well, they got to pay the full amount of the prescription. They got to pay the full amount of this until they reach that deductible. And so unless you're catastrophically injured, you're still paying for all your own medical care for some people, depending on the plan that they picked out.
And again, it's Minority Health Week, but all parts are connected. I think that sometimes we kind of act like we're not interconnected on a lot of different things. And one of the things that we will share in is then the cost of poor health. And I don't know if we talk about it from how it impacts you and I in terms of my poor health to someone else's poor health, and then being able to extend treatment for that poor health.
Yeah, and it affects every part of us, where we live, where we work, where we go to school at, where we worship at. It affects every part of you. And that's why we want health education to be in all those spaces too. Our health department is supposed to help us with our neighborhoods, but the churches and like this show, we want information, health care information to be readily accessible for our community so that they know that what's normal and what's abnormal. And when they see something that is grossly abnormal, or before that, even the preventive care, that they will do that so that they don't have the catastrophic health illnesses that when you go to the emergency room, you end up in intensive care and you've been sitting at home with this ailment. And usually when people call me about something, I say, go to the hospital. And they,
do I take an ambulance? Or do I take a cab?
What was that one song? Get there.
Get there.
Get there.
Brenda Russell. I don't care how you get here. Get here. Oh my God.
There.
I'm a big Brenda Russell fan.
You need to get there.
Well, oh man, I have lost friends. And I've lost 3 college classmates, and all in the span of about 2 years. And but my buddy, my buddy Ryan, retired military officer, but he had some health issues. So he did something with his high blood pressure medication. And so he calls wherever the emergency, whatever, saying, hey, I'm having this reaction. They said, okay, we're going to send you an ambulance. Not Buck. Buck got on the bus with his comfort dog. Almost died.
Oh my goodness.
Almost died. I don't know why he decided to get on the bus and not wait on the ambulance to come out. So I know that people can do things sometimes that puts themselves even in greater harm. It was something you said, though, Brenda, about judgment and how we judge. I think we saw that in judgment and fear. And we saw that with HIV.
Oh, yeah.
That there was a judgment on how people contracted it. And so then obviously the fear of the unknown, right? How do we contract it? I'm scared of getting it, right? I mean, and then
then they isolate those people. They didn't want to be around them.
Right. And these are healthcare providers who you're exposed to all kind of. So I think in terms of culturally where the healthcare system is, in terms of how it responds, I think it's also because we have established this socialism in this country in terms of a robust public health system. People have access to public health. I mean, to health care, health insurance. We have to be just a little bit mindful. And I keep using COVID because I think I individually learned a lot, not just about how viruses work, but I learned a whole lot about how people think and how they react to. And you said it earlier, what we've been conditioned to accept.
COVID did a lot. We were all at home. We had time to look into, but the healthcare system came out with new ideas. And one of it was health equity, health disparities. And it really made them say, we're not treating people right. And for the first time, I heard nurses and doctors and healthcare systems talk about health disparities, health equities. And
because it's impacting your bottom line.
A lot of people died. And we want to prevent that from happening. And a lot of people didn't realize that implicit bias. A lot of people didn't realize that they had that. And they started looking at themselves in a different way. And I must say, like the American Nursing Association, who would not allow Black nurses to join. Everybody know I belong to a Black nursing sorority, but they publicly, our national president is in Atlanta, Georgia. They publicly shook her hand and made an apology for what they did to Black nurses back in the day,
Because I want to believe, and naively, obviously, that it's colorblind. And what I mean by
healthcare,
it should be, but we know that it's not. Because we're dealing with individuals. Even if the construct of the hospital is set up, the policies and all of that are colorblind. You're still dealing with people who come in with their own beliefs, their own experiences, and how they see people. We can tell them that in a hospital setting you can't behave that way, but it doesn't stop the way that they view things. And I think when we were talking about how healthcare changed. Because, people were so scared, healthcare workers, they were so scared caring for all these people that they started seeing those biases in other people and they were calling each other out on it, and as a result of that, they were checking each other and they had to make some changes, or a lot of people were so uncomfortable that they just quit healthcare altogether.
You just made me think of Phyllis Hyman. Gonna make changes, gonna make minds
That's
aware.
my girl, Phyllis Hyman.
Oh,
I must say that when I first started in nursing, it was a lot of Caucasian women that came from all white communities, and they wanted to come to the big city So they came to the big city, but they still had the
Small town mentality.
small town
Mhm.
mentality. And it took being around and socializing with Black nurses and getting to know Black patients that they actually fell in love with,
Mhm.
that helped them to see that their dad wasn't right. And then and then they started realizing, my father was not a good man.
Mhm.
And they had to come to some awakenings. And I went to the hospital for that fit testing.
Mhm.
And a woman walked up to me. Mostly they're older nurses, and oh, this is Julia Means, and she does such great work in the community. All of you nurses, come here. I want you to meet her and know what she's doing in the community. And I'm going, I'm sorry, but I don't know who she is.
Right.
And, uh,
She's so humble. I no, y'all.
I don't.
No,
And look
I
at
don't
this.
want this. Get over here. I don't want this. I don't deserve this.
And because of that, I have to go. I got a patient I got to meet right now
Please don't
in
fit
their
test
home.
me.
Right. Right. Right.
But we have to go through a lot of tests to stay. So then,
Well, it's that, wow, look how great she is. And you see she's Black, but look how great she
You're
is.
good. You. It's funny.
Wow.
That is interesting. The first sermon I ever preached, I was 16 years old, and I was at Dominican High School.
okay.
And I don't know why I wanted to do a message on racial reconciliation.
Because you were feeling it over at
It
Dominican High
wasn't.
School.
It didn't go over. So, but I remember I said that. God, interesting mind, even at a young age. I said, what's really ridiculous when someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, Keith, you're all right for a Black guy."
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Is that ridiculous? That really is. I'm all right because I'm Keith.
Mm-hmm.
And you're all right because you're Steve. And I understand we're not colorblind, so let's not act as
And
if
we shouldn't be colorblind. We
How
should
can you be if you
right.
can see?
We should be appreciative of differences.
Right. Ray Charles was colorblind because Ray
Right. Well,
Charles
he
was blind.
He blind.
He blind, right? Stevie Wonder was colorblind. But for us to act as if we don't see that, we do see it. What we have to do is then remove all those things that we've been taught that's attached to that. And I think that's what happens when they come from small towns because they're cloistered. I mean,
Sure, they have no experience.
They
They
have no
probably
experience
never
with
even
Black
met a
folks.
person of color.
right.
Many
Or
of them
escalator.
have.
They
Yeah.
didn't have
Yeah,
escalator.
anything.
Oh, I met a group of people. I was at a conference and they were from Kansas.
Mhm.
I thought, well, wow, we got the internet, the world is, and they thought that the John Hancock building was the tallest building in Chicago. I'm going, what history books are you reading? Because they built what became the Sears Tower, which became the tallest building in the world. But I just thought in terms of that exposure to other people, if you don't grow up in that, and it's the same thing for Black people. Let's be honest. This is why it's such a difficult time transitioning into predominantly white spaces, because we're getting fed with stereotypes about descendants of European people. And so you're hearing all these things, and then you hear this thing like, oh, here's one of my favorites I found out wasn't true. Oh, white people's hair stink when it gets wet. Come on, man. That's a myth. Black people's hair then would stink when it got wet. It doesn't. But there were things that we would do to compensate for that lack of exposure. And there was a certain level of superiority, and where we really kind of latched on to a certain level of superiority, much I think sometimes to our deficit, was that somehow we were religiously better off. Now that comes with its problems, because if I'm teaching you to go faith first, it's going to be hard for me to deal with facts. That's why I'm saying it's always facts and then it's faith, right? So if I'm set up because Jesus will heal, and Jesus will heal. Well, if you're in a situation where Jesus needs to heal you, you're in a pretty tough situation.
Right.
And a lot of this could be prevented. The man getting all religious in this piece. The man who was at the well, 38 years that man went to the well, and he finally got healed. Most people stop reading then. Keep reading. Because Jesus then bumps into him later. Two things happen. People want to know who healed you, right? He did. So that was an issue. I don't know. All I know is his eyes healed. But then Jesus bumps into him and says, you know what? If you continue to do what you're doing right now, you're going to be right back where you were before. That's the only time Jesus ever said to someone, the reason why you're in the situation you're in is because of your behavior. Your behavior caused healing. So what we can control, there's certain things that can't. I can't control genetically how I'm made up. So, you know, what I inherit in my genes, I inherit in my genes. But we also know.
Oh. So just the bottom half of you, huh, Keith? Just I wouldn't have caught that if I wasn't looking right at you.
So much for that sermon. All right, let's
just the legs, folks.
Man, I
just
almost gave you an offer. I was pulling out my wallet like right now.
Look at the devil.
Where's the
I just got to, but the point is that there's certain things that we can't control in terms of our to the program.
You know, and I think sometimes because we get a lot of, especially older people who, you know, don't get treatment and they say it's because of their faith, but part of that is just fear,
right?
You know, so if I reach out and I'm not healed, or if I go to the doctor and I'm, you know, then they failed me. But that's not the, you know, you can't get healed if you don't go.
And
you can't get treatment if you don't go.
But the fascinating thing is that once they go to the doctor to do the treatment, who's running around here talking about the benefits of health, healthcare, medicine? Again, let's start here. The things we can control, let's try to control. And we know it's difficult. It's
Absolutely.
very difficult. But it's even more difficult when you have to do radical treatment. Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Keith. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning, Milwaukee. Yes, Tyrone W. speaking. Good morning, Mr. Ryder. Good morning, Mr. Carby.
Good morning there, sir.
Yes, sir. And all. Good morning, Milwaukee. Yes, Tyrone W. speaking again. A wonderful election day.
Do you have a
dog?
A dog or
no? Actually, it's a little it's one of my little favorites. It's a little elephant, and it's my little noise maker when I want to make some noise.
Robert Ducky. Robert Ducky.
You're the one.
Right.
You make that time so fun.
Got some big ears. Good elephant
Rubber
ears.
Ducky, I'm awfully fond of you.
You just took me back to my childhood with that one. Been in the bathtub. Rubber Ducky.
We got to motivate him. We got to motivate him so we can get him up to get out and vote. You know, go vote. Get up and go vote.
I'm just gonna do it because it's driving me nuts. So
get on the elephant's ears and back and go vote. There's a little elephant there. Their nose is curled up and everything. But good morning. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Speaking about the medical piece real quick, I didn't want to suck all the air out of the show there. I remember, I'll date I'm not ashamed saying I'm 65, but I remember Dr. Terry. I was born in Detroit. I came here through my Uncle Bato and my Aunt Eula, my grandmother's sister and her husband. Dr. Terry used to make house calls, and he was good. He was very good. I mean, that's one of the, there were others too, but the name that was being handed around, and it was Dr. Terry, and he was good. I remember being at his house there several times there, and you know, my Aunt Eula and Uncle Bato, Dr. Terry, and you know, my mom and dad. I mean, but you know, yeah, he was real good. But yeah, we missed stuff like that. Along those lines, there, the TV fellow was good too.
Marcus
He made
Welby.
house calls. Excuse me.
Marcus Welby.
Absolutely, you read my mind. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And he got in his car there. He made house calls, but he also, you know, maintained the hospital as well. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, you know, and ladies, you know, as far as that goes, what you know, because you hear people, you know, China, you can get things, and you know, you go to China, you get healed for much less. I know the answer to it. The money's behind it, but I just wanted to hear the two of you, you know, chime in on it and give your voices about, you know, where did we go? Just landscape crazy about the money about it. I mean, a cocktail and concoction about all these. my brother passed away from the complications of diabetes. He was on at least 15 of these, that he had to take daily. I'm like, man, look here, this stuff looked like candy, man. I can't even, and some of them were big like horse pills too. I mean, he had to take that stuff daily. So I mean, this great big concoction and cocktail of tablets that they're making money on. Where did we go from the blueprint that the Chinese is laying out for us, where you can get healed much reasonably, but all the money behind all these concoctions, whose hand is in the cookie jar here, and what's what? Now, I'll listen to you over the air because I didn't want to, get in the way of other callers, unless you had a question for me.
No, but I will say, big
Thank
pharma.
you. Thank you very much.
They make money. Their goal is to make money. But as far as the cost of medicine in particular, here in the United States, we have lots of regulations, lots of regulatory things. The
Which
hospitals,
is a good thing.
it's a good thing because it keeps, it makes sure that we have safe, reliable, quality care. But as a result of that, that costs us a lot. That costs healthcare a lot of money. And so, unfortunately, that is passed on. In places like China, they do what they want to do. They're a communist country.
It's the government.
Right. And so the government does what it wants to do. They, you don't have those kinds of, they have their own regulatory things. But, when they came out with their COVID vaccine, that was you didn't have a choice. You did it.
And so, their isolation
right, it was
severe.
severe.
It was
right.
severe.
And so you don't have any choices over there, or in some other countries, but here we do. And as a result, we have lots of regulatory things. And again, as Julia said, they're good because they have made healthcare a lot safer over the years and prevents us from doing things that we know could put you at risk for infection. We have all these quality controls over, how we do certain procedures, all of that. And that raises the cost of healthcare.
It's interesting. I'm going back to where we started, 1915. That was 3 years before the influenza outbreak. And to hear my mother relate stories that my grandmother told her about people who were dying, right? Black people who were dying, and probably at a higher rate. Probably poor people in general as a higher rate that were dying in terms of that. And then what we found out again about COVID was, we have all our conspiracy theories, right? Is what was it called? Pandemic.
Oh yeah.
And
that they released this on purpose.
And the reality was, no, sometimes
bad things happen. Nature, that randomness of nature, and it's gotten back to, yes, they do believe it was a bat. And okay. I mean that we're good with that, because one, who got the virus? If it was targeted at a particular group of people, what we discovered was equal opportunity.
The Queen, the president, right? I mean, it was, and then at some point, many of us, right? Now, for some of us, we were very fortunate because either where our health was, or the vaccine was then available, and then those mitigating factors worked until we could come up with how it would actually look, I guess, fully blown, and then to come up with a vaccine in order to, and what we are now 2 years out of vaccine, 2, maybe coming on 3. What has been the negative impact of that vaccine?
Minimal.
Lots
of good work. But anything, I'll just say quickly too, we got so stuck on how did this happen? The issue is it's happening. It was happening everywhere. And the most important thing was, at least for us regular people, was to treat it, to find out how to treat it and minimize the amount of people that were dying. At some point you do want to know how it happened, but the immediacy of it is what we got to focus on, what we can do now that it is here.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Good morning.
I like to say, I love that Be Healthy, Be You. The topics that you cover are excellent. Your personal testimonies enrich and give us a lot of hope to go on and talk to other people. And when we share what we go through, it helps other people. Like I've had people say to me, well, you're a Christian and you believe this and you know that God can do all things, and you keep having, I had a stroke, my husband and I both had. And I know that when you have a stroke, you may not have a physical, a problem, but it causes something somewhere. I don't feel I'm that same person, because of some different other things. But it does not negate that I'm still a Christian and I still call on the Lord. And once you get up off your knees, you got to be doing something. And I have to say something about my doctors. I wait a long time to get in there, but when I get in there, they take the same amount of time. They're not rushing me. She is really excellent. And I have a lot of friends that have told me they feel like their doctors are not listening to them. They overlook them. They look down on them. And it's heartbreaking what some of them have been through. And I just want to say one other thing. I didn't get a chance to get in on Michelle's thing. It was an interesting call that she had from the lady telling us about what's happened to the Palestinians over there. We live in a democracy, and Biden can only do so much. He has to work with other partners. He has to work with those Republicans and say, well, you're not getting no money for Ukraine unless we do this for Israel. So he's doing the best that he can. So telling these people to hold out on the boat, I don't know, we're playing gambling games. All I'm going to tell you is this. Our grandfathers and our great-grandfathers and our uncles and cousins and everybody that died for us to have democracy, the freedom to make choices. When you go to that and vote, you're voting for your sister and your mother and your aunties to have a right over their bodies. You're voting for change that we can eventually get over to this other party and kind of break that hold that they have on it. So right now, we are as powerful as we can be. Let's use that vote and make that difference. And the people that need to be going out there, look, keep doing what you're doing. God bless us all, and I hope people get out and vote. And thank you for the show.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and come back, and we'll finish up this segment of Be Healthy, Be You. We'll be right back.
Get ready, Wisconsin. The Black Child Development Institute is expanding its village statewide. Join us for an unforgettable evening of celebration and empowerment at our gala on Saturday, May 4th, 2024 at the Hilton Milwaukee City Center. Tickets are available for $150 per person and sponsorships are available. Adorn yourself in formal African attire as we celebrate this momentous occasion and the growth of our village. For more information and to purchase tickets, call 414-236-5641 or visit bcdi-wisconsin.org. That is 414-236-5641 or bcdi-wisconsin.org. Don't miss out on this unforgettable event. Together, let's build a brighter future for Wisconsin's children.
Attention, music lovers. Are you ready for an unforgettable night? Come out to Shank Hall, 1434 North Farwell Avenue for the Divas of Soul tribute featuring the talent Christopher's Project with guest vocalists Samira, Just Becca, Bill Salfo Spears, and Sandra B. Doors open at 6 p.m. Sunday, April 14th. Tickets are just $25 in advance and $30 at the door. Don't miss out on this unforgettable night of soul. Grab your tickets now. For more information, call 414-276-7288. That's 414-276-7288.
Well, I've grown tired.
Are you or a loved one facing challenges of dementia? It can be a difficult journey, but you don't have to go through it alone. Melanin Minded understands this uphill battle and seeks to be the bridge for information, service, and support for the people of color. Melanin Minded offers various resources to ensure caregivers are equipped with the right tools, knowledge, and help, from youth and men's health programs to the Legacy Home Health Services. For more information, please call 972-891-9187. 972-891-9187.
Hey, oh, what it do? This is Kwabena Anton Nixon. Catch me Tuesdays through Fridays on WNOV 860 from 3 to 5 p.m. with culture, community, and conversations. Pull up, you on the porch with Kwab. That's Tuesday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. on the new 860 WNOV and 106.5.
You're listening to WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.
C sharp, just in case y'all forgot.
Yes, sir. I'm over here feeling it.
That's C sharp.
Yeah,
Okay.
C
Let me
sharp.
put
Nice
that in.
music.
Yeah,
that's
well,
the
you
root
can,
note.
you can thank the gifted and talented one for that. Keon.
Oh.
Keon
came with the music.
He found this,
Second.
right?
Okay.
And he never lets me forget that he found it. And that he uses it for you all. We got a final call.
Yes, sir. We got a final call.
All right. Caller, welcome to the program.
This is the Reverend Dr. Andrew Ward. I just want to make a light testimonial. I arrived in Milwaukee in '68. Dr. Pollard was my doctor, and Finlayson delivered all of my children. I had my father's auntie was a doctor, Dr. Warner. She delivered myself and my siblings. I have a niece who is an RN, and her daughter is an RN.
Mm-hmm.
I have a granddaughter who is a nurse, and I said all of this to borrow and remix the line from Raising in the Sun. We come from a long line of proud and accomplished people, and y'all have a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Well, then, you and your family should be far advanced in prevention of healthcare and living having longevity because of good healthcare and faith.
You know what? And there's a little luck too.
A little luck.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of your genes.
Genes are
Yeah,
good.
I mean, I think it's a combination
absolutely.
of all these things in terms of
genes matter.
They make a big difference. I mean, that's who we are, right? Our genes.
And they're starting to do more genetic counseling now more than ever. They want to know. They want you to know about your genes because diabetes, kidney disease, so many diseases are
Heart
genetic.
disease. Yeah, they're finding more and more things that we just thought were only lifestyle, but have a genetic component to it.
And probably what we've introduced into this evolutionary cycle. It can be diet, lifestyle.
Sure.
These things all contribute to, because we're still evolving as species. And it seems very subtle, but you can look in America, for example, we're heavier, we're taller, right? I mean, so there's all these things in your environment, what you eat, the things, the stressors on you, all those things can have impact on your genetic makeup and then what you're then passing on to the generation after you.
Yeah. And if we don't think disposal of waste is anything serious, look at that mercury incident out in Brown Deer. That shut down Pick and Save. So
and I think one person actually had high levels of mercury and was being treated.
So where you live, work, shop, everything is a cause. Now, I wanted to address the caller that said she had a stroke and and she emotionally doesn't feel like herself, that is because your brain was damaged.
Mhm. It was
You
assaulted. Mhm.
you did have an incident in your brain, and you should let your doctor know, and maybe they can look into it. But depending on where your stroke was, they will know what type of feelings and emotional issues you may be having. And sometimes they have you to fill out this form. Is it difficult for you to be attentive? You
What'd you say?
Well, we know Keith had a stroke.
That's my mother. They said, "Oh, Keith had a stroke." She said, "How bad? How damaged?" She said, "No more damage than he was before the stroke." The damage done. She threw him in my head when I was little. But it's interesting because that ties in what we were talking about last week.
Right, the concussions.
Concussion, traumatic head
Yes.
injuries. And we think that a lot of times we think you're running into something, but that explosion in your brain, that is something. And yeah, you could have long-term effects. I know I deal with long-term effects in terms of a day like today. I can't bend over quickly because of where I had my stroke. But look at God, because it could have been, what is that, your frontal lobe?
Where your impulse, feeding, speech, swallowing.
That's my money maker.
Yeah.
And so it is. I mean, there is, we live in a world, I know, for people who really believe in divine design, but I think the design is probably more complicated. And so we tried to do it in very simplistic things so people can have some rudimentary understanding. But when you begin to think about the vastness of existence, we find out that human beings are only a small part of that existence, though we think we're the most important part of that existence. And that's why we're polluting the planet. That's why they said no species has had the impact on the planet that human beings have had. And both in the positive, and I mean, because what we do, I was sitting in the house and I was just looking around. And I said, I'm inside shelter from inclement weather, right? I mean, we figured that out. We build houses, right? Or we build huts, whatever it is, protect us from the elements. But there's still things that are going on, and there are things we can't control. Let's control.
Yes.
And then after that.
Yeah, and we need to be very helpful to our family and friends and community, because that's all very important. Be that leader in your community.
You all have just so impacted my brain that I'm a little bit more mindful of what I eat and how much I eat. I was, you guys like Jolly Good sodas?
Not anymore.
Oh.
Too sweet.
Really?
Yeah.
You drink any soda?
If I do, it's maybe a diet soda. But yeah, I don't like real sweet stuff. Real sweet. I don't like it.
Okay. Yeah.
And Jolly Good used to be so cheap that you just
Still is.
Oh, it is.
So you get a sentence.
I know there was one I used to like, which was a peach soda. I don't remember if it was Jolly Good or if it was something else. Oh, I love peach soda.
Really?
Well, I grew up. It was a Southern thing. So
Right.
when I lived in Mississippi, you had Pepsi. You had
RC.
Yeah, RC. Right, and then you had peach soda. Was pretty much
Knee-high, because they had
fan.
orange, grape, peach,
Yeah.
strawberry. Okay. Yeah, but I'm just, I'm just, after doing this, if I drink one too many sodas, I'm worried. I'm like, man, I'm gonna become a diabetic. One soda.
You gotta take a little more than that, Keith. It doesn't hold on in your body for days on end. So
yeah, I mean, it's and I was never a sweet guy anyway. A sweet guy.
We know that, Keith. We've heard all about it.
Keith on the road today. Ain't he? He is on the road.
Boy, am I getting, we're talking about fully exposed, right? He seemed like such a sweet guy. No.
Keith?
Keith, no.
You mean Keith on the radio? That Keith?
Unbelievable.
Cliffy's son. That's what we talking. The oldest one. That's the one we talking about. But no, I think so. But I am a little bit more mindful of it, I guess, in terms of, because how could you not be when you're exposed, right? My mother had a thing. You knew better. Now, if you didn't know, she'll give you some credit for ignorance, but because you knew better and you didn't do better,
right?
You're gonna pay for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of metaphoric in life, that especially when we know some things we just didn't know. We didn't know how our diet was impacting.
We didn't know
us.
ham hocks. we didn't know that fat back and what was that, salt pork.
Salt pork.
We didn't know. We didn't know.
My dad used to just slice his salt pork and fry it like bacon. He preferred that over bacon.
Did he do pork belly?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You don't do pork belly?
No, but I don't know about that.
Well, we did something this Resurrection Sunday / Easter. We didn't serve pork because Jesus didn't eat pork, folks.
No, he didn't.
But we didn't. And actually, I did oven fried catfish.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, that's olive oil, and you just put it in the oven and you fry it and in the oven. Yeah, it's really healthy too.
Yeah, it sounds delicious.
Yeah, it was healthy. And then I did beer can capon. Yeah, so that was chicken and no pork. But me and Rhonda was talking, and I was like, boy, I love some honey baked ham. Right now, it's a potato salad.
There we go.
I'm not saying I'm a junkie, but
smelling ham.
I'm yeah. So what was your Easter meal?
They did catfish.
Okay.
Too.
Okay.
But I did bring a smaller ham, and yeah, that was that. So the catfish must have been got around somehow.
It did. We actually did, and I'm really proud of my wife and the teamwork we were able to exhibit. There was a couple of times where the police was almost called, but can I see you in the kitchen for but yeah, it was. I'm really into. My mother said always have more than enough. And this time we did pretty good in terms of portions, where we didn't have a lot of leftovers. And it was fairly healthy. I think the greens had smoked turkey, and but there was a potato dish. Oh,
delicious! Stomach started growling. She's kind of a potato junkie like me, so you said that. And
what kind of potato?
It was a.
Her voice got high. What kind of potato?
I'm sick. Can you hook me up?
So yes, what kind of dish was it?
It was a cheese potatoes, and because ham, potato salad, macaroni and cheese. But this cheese dish, and it was looked like, I think she said Gouda.
Gouda?
Yeah, I think it could have been Gouda, cheddar,
and Gouda makes
sauce.
Everything nice and creamy.
Right, and so that was good, and then some green beans, and it was actually
good.
Yeah, and look. I know sometimes I will go to JJ's on Christmas because they're open to get catfish, but one of my in-laws don't eat meat, and so we had to come up with an alternative. So we had catfish and then cod for her. So. What about you, Brent?
It was small at my house. There were 4 of us, so I did do a ham because that's kind of what people wanted, and of course I had to make some sort of potato dish. And some fresh green beans with mushrooms and onions. And onions. Yeah, and I made a kale salad.
Oh, that's good.
And I'm missing something. Oh, a corn pudding. It's a baked dish with corn and cream and stuff like that in it.
Wow. Yeah, so I am wanting some. I don't know why I want. And then the great thing about getting that honey baked ham is that, for leftovers, now and get me some white bread and some Miracle Whip, some honey baked ham.
You got to save all year for that ham nowadays.
I know. Isn't that amazing? You going, I'm looking at these. I don't even look anymore. I look, I'm trying to vote for Joe Biden. I'm not looking at those prices because it's like, whoa. I mean, everything has gone up. It's amazing.
Well, their ham has gone for years now. It's been high, but it's so tasty. I go in there sometimes. I just, you can order a bag. It's £1.
Okay.
So it's like when they cut it off, they just, when they sell ham sandwiches and stuff like that, you just get a £1 is plenty for me.
That turkey breast is good.
Oh, it's delicious.
Yeah. They got, it's good that we're able to, I tell people we have relative prosperity. I was talking to my mother, and there's no more militant was no more militant person on the panel than my mama, and I said, Mama, haven't you made progress? And Mama, oh yeah, I've made progress. She said, but a lot of us haven't. And so that gets us back to minority health and how we have to be just mindful of what it is. And again, what we can control, certainly our diets, our lifestyle, our access to health care, all those things. And you know what? In most instances, you will usually have a positive outcome, right? I mean, you guys do it every day, so you can tell me if I'm right or wrong on that. So, yeah, and then again, a good relationship with your doctor.
Most definitely.
And then a knowledge of your own body.
I always tell people, you know your body better than anybody else. Don't think there's anything you shouldn't tell your doctor. Like they'll say, did you tell him this? Oh, I didn't think that was important. Everything is important. Because that might be the missing piece to make them think, oh, okay, let me look here. Let me do something a little, look at some other things. So tell them everything.
I was talking to someone and he was telling me about some of how he was dealing with a situation. And I think he said that him and his wife, they found some stretching thing he could do with his back pain. And he said he had gone to a chiropractor. I don't know if he went to a orthopedic person, but I said, you know what? When I was dealing with sciatica, the person who gave me the most information on that was my physical therapist.
Yep. They can work wonders.
They're the ones that know. They know muscles, tendons. They know everything about the body.
And I said, that's the difference between him and a chiropractor. They're dealing with the bone. This is like how those tendons and muscles impact on the functioning of your body and how important it was, and told me more than my orthopedic surgeon. And then he was almost kind of angry at me, but I think he was kind of angry at me because of the insurance I had at that point. Like at the county, you always hear about people who were retired at a certain point was eligible for lifetime health insurance. Okay. Well, in that gap, and many people, certainly when I retired, we were in our early 50s. So we're not eligible for Medicare for a few years. So now you get this health insurance, and remember you talk about those deductibles. The guy, that's all the health insurance I had, he could recommend a colonoscopy, but I had to meet a deductible. When my health insurance status changed, those things went away, right? And I was then able to go in and minimal out-of-pocket costs. So that health insurance becomes real important in how we utilize
very much so.
Insurance.
Yeah, and people need to look at that when they for employment. A lot of times you don't investigate the health insurance, but health insurance is very, very important, and sometimes it may make a difference in getting a higher paying job versus a job that has great health insurance.
Yeah, because sometimes people do, well, I'm going to make more money, but your insurance is not nearly as good. So it all evens out.
And I think that was the thing about people who work for government. You would not necessarily get paid the same thing you got paid in the private sector, but the benefit package was much better than the private sector. Because private sector, look, I'll just give you get $150,000 a year. Right now, everything else you got to take care of yourself. No retirement. This is, and so if you live in, and that was the difference. And I guess because of my mental illness, where it requires a certain level.
Okay.
Just letting you know. So when you see that mug shot,
he told you. He told us. We should have paid attention.
Because people are always surprised. He was the nicest guy, right? He just would have killed 32 people.
Mm-hmm.
He was never a problem. He was always help me cut the grass. And then one day he just snapped. And I just forgot my point. And look at mental illness.
You're talking about the benefits of.
Yeah, benefits of having good health insurance. So if you, something you're looking at in terms of employment, younger people, what is that health insurance? You don't think about it. Certainly women.
Absolutely.
You know, because you deal with what probably one of the number one health issues out there is pregnancy, right? And everything that's related to your feminine ecosystem, and even how, and again, your mothers, you can say how pregnancy had some physical impact on you.
Oh, absolutely.
And women are dying nowadays. It's more maternal deaths.
Yeah, that article I just sent you the other day, I don't know if you read it. It was used to be for Kansas City, one of the cheerleaders, 40 years old, very healthy, gave birth, baby was stillborn, and she passed away. You know, other than that, and full term, normal, you know, she was doing well.
African American? Yeah. And that's something, obviously, I don't know if we'll be talking about in Minority Health Month, but certainly when we begin to talk about maternal care and just the impact that it's having on us. And wow, it just gets back to I know in history we talk about all the different things, but I think that when they do the 1,000-year history, you know, this millennium, they're going to have to talk about the impact of enslavement of African people. We're going to have to talk about it because the impact that it's had on a particular group of people was, again, I was reading the book, Branded from the Beginning, and then I was watching the documentary. And they started off with the premise, say, you know what? Before we got on those ships, we were Mandingo, we were Igbo, right? We were Yoruba. And then they said they put us on this boat and we all became black. Those folks had their own genetic coding in terms of their ethnicity. And now we put all these folks together. And so we have been lumped in black, and then everything that goes along with being black living in America. And I wish that we take great pride in our Africanness. Our Africanness is not the problem. It's that black thing that becomes the problem. And when people are not being proud, no, I'm not saying I'm not. We embraced black in the 60s, even though people growing up, looking at Jermaine's brown-skinned brother, you know, we call him black. That was an insult. That wasn't a term of endearment.
Well, for me, it's more like mocha, man.
Right. Caramel.
Yeah.
Caramel.
Butterscotch.
I'm a mocha brother.
Mocha.
I'm mocha. But you know, when they would gun on you, you know,
Right.
we were so ignorant, we would go after. And I was thinking about that the other day. And again, programming is important. Thank you, Cliffy Parris, because my mama was going like, that's pretty. That's pretty. So you never heard me talk about you black so-and-so. You know, we weren't allowed to do it. And then that appreciation, because that complexion represented Africa. Not this black thing that they put on us, not Negro, and not the other one.
The other word.
I cannot use it because I already used it once this month, and I only can use it once a month.
Okay.
On the air.
And you know, I look at certain people and I know they had a harder way to go because of their skin tone. Because I know people treat you different. And when I look at these young ladies that are standing on the corner, they may end up dead because people disregard them as human. And so when we work with women in a mid-house and I see a black woman there with really dark skin, my heart goes out to her because I know she's been through
That's part of the pain.
Yes.
And you know, it is to the point where I'm with you. I understood it because after a while you can do kind of anecdotal observation.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are sociological studies out there that talks about complexion and how we react to complexion. But you would see where certain people was fighting every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about every day. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there's two. Now, there were the people who were getting picked on because they look like you and Brenda.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were getting people who were getting picked on who were very dark.
Mm-hmm.
And they carried that for the rest of their lives. I mean,
Sure.
it's there. And that's the poison of racism.
Mhm.
It is.
And that's even within our own, the
Mhm.
colorism, that it's the way we've even treated each other
Mhm.
because of the color of our skin.
You're listening to Community Voice. We're up on the last break of the program. Thank you all for hanging out.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to take your self-care routine to new heights? Introducing Bird Songs, your one-stop destination for all natural body essentials. Now open at our brand new location, 7123 West Greenfield Avenue. That's 7123 West Greenfield Avenue. Come check out an extensive collection of body oils, shea butter, soaps, hydrating lotions, refreshing shower gels, and enchanting incense. For more information, please visit birdsongsonline.com.
Urban Vibes, community conversation where we all have a seat at the table. Join the conversation every first Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. with me, Karen Dotson, from the All of Us Research Program at the Medical College of Wisconsin. We will discuss health issues affecting Black and Brown communities and share how health research can help find solutions in the future. Learn from special guests each month, and please join us at the table for real conversation every first Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. at 860 WNOV and 106.5 FM.
Carter's Creations, when quality and service matters for any occasion. Sometimes you just want to send a floral arrangement for a get well, anniversary, birthday, or I messed up, or just because. Carter's Creations at 1727 West Hampton Avenue is the place you need to call. So call them today at 414-265-1727 or visit them online at carterscreations.com. Carter's Creations has been in business for over 30 years. Therefore, you know they know what they're doing. They also specialize in funerals as well. So when you need that special floral arrangement, think of Carter's Creations, when quality and service matter.
On Sunday, May 5th, bring out your spring best for the annual It's a Love Thing party for the LGBTQ community 40 and up. It's presented by Carmen A. Murguia. Come enjoy music by DJ Kelsey, a Latin dinner menu, and gift giveaways. It's a Love Thing will be held at the Wisconsin African American Women's Center on 3020 West Fleet Street from 3 to 7 p.m. Get your tickets in advance for just $25. Call Carmen at 414-534-0701. That's 414-534-0701.
Hi, my name is Tamika Vukovic, co-executive director of Wisconsin Voices. Please join Wisconsin Voices every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. We will be focusing on community partnerships, voter education, and long-term collective impact for all Wisconsinites.
WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee.
That's a deadline. All right.
Love and hate.
5 o'clock in the morning. Got me going in now. Just gonna do. Woo! Felt that thing.
Ooh, memories.
Was that a stalker song?
Yeah,
that was a stalker song.
It was.
There's some stalker songs out there. I cannot think of this girl's name. She's a bass player. Nagulia. She's a great bass player. And she got I'm Outside Your Window.
Lord have mercy.
And she's a woman stalking another woman.
Oh,
man. It's and they play at WHUR DC. She got a DC version because she's from DC. Outside Your Window.
Lord.
Up all in the bushes.
That's some serious talk.
Some real life pressure.
Yeah, I just happened to be in the neighborhood.
Right.
Dude, you live in New York. How did you get to Chicago? I just happened to be in the neighborhood.
Walking down your street and looky here.
And you was there. I saw the light on.
Right. And I thought I saw a picture of your house one time.
Covered all in all your bushes because they've been out there bushes. A friend of mine said she always knew when her guy was trying to stalk her in the wintertime because she see the footprints around the house where you go there peeking in the windows.
A woman, one of my senior women told me that back in the day in the South, the men would put flour at the door and around the windows so they could tell if somebody came in. They were gone.
Or if she left out.
Yeah. And so to me, I'm going,
you just bring your own flour and dust it back over.
My mother said something. I'm here ear hustling when I'm young. My mama's single, right? So they, her and her girlfriends have conversations. And my mama said, you know what? He got her all up in the house, and I'd never heard this term before. Looking at the four walls. That means he wouldn't let her go nowhere.
Yeah.
And I heard that, like looking at the four walls.
Yeah.
And my mama, I ain't gonna never be like that. I go, okay, mama, we'll see. My mama did have a boyfriend though. One time, my mama got to talking to him. I kept saying to her, hit him. Hit her, dude. Don't take that. And I know she, my mama, hit her, but she wore him out. Oh man, she wore him. He's about this big by the time she got finished with him. Well, I don't know what that has to do with Black Health Month. Actually,
well,
nothing.
It does, because if you hit him, he needed to.
Well, domestic
violence
is something that I think
it was even more common. I think because it was very socially
and
acceptable.
it was on the books,
right?
Men could beat their wives.
Right, it was socially acceptable. Yeah.
Oh, the good old days. All right,
that's what they say. I ain't trying to go back.
Good old days. Wow. Keep it on the roll today.
I know, man. Oh my God. You know why? Because I'll be back this afternoon.
Oh yeah.
And so we really. But let me thank Attorney Rochelle Johnson-Bent. Let me thank Miss Julia Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan. Jermaine, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Carvey, thank you, sir.
Yes, Carvey.
The good Lord willing, creek don't rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. Oh no, I'll see you this afternoon inside the Election Central. Y'all go from this place in peace.